Okay, guys, welcome to our virtual professional development event that you have been invited to. After the event, if you know of teachers or anyone else that would like to view it, we will have a link to a YouTube version of our event. So we have been asked as a group to create a virtual professional development activity for you guys. And we are going to be talking to you guys about communicating online and how we should teach our students to do that as well. So at this time, I would like to state that my name is Alana Hamby, and I will be moderating our event today. And we have the speakers Natelie Swanson, Briana Davis, and Leah Wilson. And we are so excited to put on this event for you guys, and we hope that you will enjoy it and grow your digital citizenship as a teacher. So at this point, Natelie, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to start with just 3 things that are really important for your students to know, or in the third point's case, something important for them to have. So firstly, it is really important for your students to know how to navigate strangers in an online environment opposed to in a real world situation. Um, they've probably heard all about stranger danger and had some talks about that with parents or maybe even past teachers, but maybe not about strangers online. So it's really important for you to teach them about that. Another thing that's really important for them to know is that not all strangers are dangerous, but also important to note that some are, but they shouldn't be afraid of all people that they don't know. The last thing, it's important for students to have the knowledge and the skills to handle challenging situations online that they may be posed with. Okay, so as I said before, many of your students have probably heard about strangers in public places, but they need to know that there are strangers online too. They need to know how to interact with them and uh, whatnot, again, in an online environment. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of discussion questions that you can pose with your students to kind of get everybody thinking about the topic. So you could start with, what is a stranger? So a stranger is anyone that they don't know. So that is really important for you to tell them. They may think strangers, those are bad people that want to hurt me. You need to let them know strangers are just anybody that they don't know. And the other thing is that not all strangers are bad. Not all of them will want to hurt them. And if you want to really focus on that a little bit more and help them understand that not all strangers are bad, you can give them some examples, like somebody at the store who opens a door for you. You probably don't know them. That makes them a stranger, but they're being nice and kind and they do not want to hurt them. It could also be a cashier at a store who's just asking how their day is. That's a stranger, but again, not somebody who wants to hurt them. So it's important for them to know that not all strangers are bad. The next question that you can pose to your class is, are there strangers online? Yes, there are strangers online. So people that they don't know who send them messages, that would be an example of some strangers online. They could also meet some strangers while playing games. There are a lot of online gaming environments through things like Xbox and PlayStation. You know, a lot of kids will say that they're playing a game with somebody that they don't know because they're playing together through the connection online, but that's still a stranger. So that's a example where they may meet an online stranger. That could also be through online chats, through apps that you're playing, those kinds of games, or it could be on, games on the computer. There's a lot of places online where they can meet strangers.
Thank you, Natalie, for your time. Now, Leah Wilson is going to take over talking about the rest of the discussion questions and a little bit more about talking safely online.
Hello, everyone. So, some more sample questions that you can pose to your students is what kinds of things should we not tell a stranger? So, this would include your full name, where you live, or your phone number. These things are pieces of information that strangers can use to potentially find you and even harm you in some way. So, you want to make sure that if you're talking to someone online that you don't know, that you don't share any personal information with them. But what kind of things can you tell a stranger? Some things might include maybe your favorite color or your favorite movie. These are pieces of information that will not pinpoint any type of personal information about yourself, which include where you live, where you work, places that strangers can show up and potentially harm you. So make sure when you are talking to your students that you tell them what they can and cannot put out on the internet. So, staying safe online, there are a few precautions that you need to tell your students in order for them to have some type of safety online. So, the first point that you will want to discuss with them is to not give out any personal information like I've discussed. This would include your name, address, that type of thing. And then something else that they need to be aware of is if they are on the internet and something that pops up makes them uncomfortable or someone messages them and it seems like it might be a little bit fishy, then they need to be able to go to an adult, go to a teacher, a guardian. You need to make your students aware that if they are uncomfortable on the internet, that they have a safe place to go to and discuss it with somebody. Another point to talk to them about is that anybody on the internet can be a potential harm. Not everybody is going to want to have, some type of bad intention for you, but you also need to have that extra precaution where you know that if you are talking to someone on the internet that you don't need to be giving any type of personal information.
Thank you, Leah, for your time. I did want to mention that these are some teacher resources for online safety. They are all resources for you as a teacher that you can use in your classroom. And they're all video resources like that you could use to show your students and to teach them how to be safe online when dealing with these kinds of things. So next, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Briana Davis. So take it away for us.
Hi, everyone. So as you said, I'm Brianna, and I'm going to be talking about what teachers and schools can do to prevent cyberbullying and also help the victims that are in cyberbullying situations. So first, cyberbullying is any form of bullying that happens online with technology. And as a teacher, we have the power to promote respect in our classrooms, to educate students to respect each other and respect each other's boundaries. And we also can educate ourselves so students can trust to come to us for help. We can kind of be that shoulder to lean on, or just simply a support system. So in the blue, I have 8 kind of steps or topics about how we can prevent and help cyberbullying issues. So one's how to recognize it, and then schools stepping up. First step, take it seriously, recognizing the signs, ask students to report it, responding to an incident, finding the right response, and getting parents involved. So with any type of cyberbullying, it happens to both boys and girls from all ages, whether it be young ages up to college years. It's important that we understand that as educators, we're in the classroom with these students. We can have 2 students be in the same class, one of them being the cyberbully, one of them being the victim of it. So how we can recognize it, students will either become depressed or upset, or angry. Their grades can start dropping. They can kind of get in their own little bubble to where they don't want to be around anybody or communicate with anybody within the classroom. So as a future educator, if you do recognize that, your first step is to be that you need to take it seriously. Cyberbullying can lead to many future negative effects and also, suicide. So it's important that we as teachers, when we recognize it, we go to that student. We ask them, is there anything we can do? Is anything going on that we can help with? And just kind of give them that shoulder to lean on when, they feel like they're all alone. So recognizing the signs. So a lot of students, whenever they go through cyberbullying, they will kind of, become a whole different person. So somebody that used to come into your classroom, happy, skipping, ready to learn, ready to be educated, they'll either start missing school or take breaks off all the time, or let their grades slip, which is really important to see because cyberbullying plays a big part in our education environment. And a student that is getting cyberbullied could start to lessen their education because they just don't really care about it at that point. Asking students to report it. So if the student is being cyberbullied, you want to educate your students, if you are cyberbullied, don't delete the evidence, don't delete anything, take screenshots of it, keep it. So whenever you do go to get help, or, if you have to take it to a further place such as court, you'll have the evidence of it. So then the other student can, either get their punishment or whatever they're getting. So responding to an incident, most researchers have decided, cyberbullies shouldn't get, punished for what they do, but instead in earlier ages, they should be educated like how we are educating you guys now on the effects of what cyberbullying can do to a person. Most people who cyberbully don't understand what they're doing because they're doing it online. So they don't understand the emotion that's on the other side of the computer. They don't understand what the victim's going through. They don't understand how it's making them feel. So it's important that we teach our students that, cyberbullying another student, could give them mental disorders. It can make them really upset. It can make them suicidal. It can put them in a bad state of mind, which would help to prevent it happening more often. So getting parents involved. Anytime that you have a student come into your class or you witness the cyberbullying, first, you want to go to the student. That should be your first step, no matter what, see how they are, see what place they're in, see, how they've handled it so far. If they've lashed back at the cyberbully, if they've, taken it to somebody else. And then if it's getting to a point where it's starting to become very harmful or starting to play a big role in their lives, you want to take it to the parents to get them involved. So next, I'm going to talk about different forms of cyberbullying to look for. So I'm not going to go over each and every one of these just because most of them are a lot alike. But each one of these, plays a role in cyberbullying. They each have different harmful effects. So like, for example, with catfishing, if somebody was to be pretending to be someone they're not and to post personal information about that person or something like that, that could be harmful to them. Or if somebody's trying to cause harm on one of your students, it's important that, you can tell what they're doing. You can tell what kind of form of cyberbullying is coming from that. So to pull everything together, cyberbullying is a very big problem in the education environment just because technology's kind of taken over everything. So it's important that, as educators, we inform ourselves and educate ourselves to understand what we can do, how we can help the students that are going through this, and how we can play a role in preventing it. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Briana, for your time. At this point, we did have some questions come in from the comment section, and I would like to direct those to you guys now. So Natalie, if you realized and you saw that strangers were contacting one of your students particularly, what would you do? In that instance, do you go just to the student? Do you go to the parent? Or, what does that involve? What would that look like in your classroom, with your experience?
So if I saw or heard that one of my students was being contacted by a stranger online, whether it's necessarily in a directly harmfully stated way or not, I think that it's important to firstly tell them that strangers online, they're not always who you think that they are. And then also to let their parents know, because, you can't go home with your students. You can't, make sure that certain situations don't progress. So it's important for you as a teacher to let their parents know what you heard and what you have seen going on. That way they can keep an eye on it at home, and that way they can have their own parental discussions about safety with their children, because that's their right as their parents. And if you're not really sure if you should mention it because you're worried about breaking that trust, that student trusted you and talked to you about it, and you don't want them to not talk to you about things again if you tattle on them to their parents. You just have to make that decision anyways, because it's about their safety, and ultimately that's what matters, and it's important to put that first. So you need to definitely let their parents know.
Thank you for that, Natalie. That's a great response. I do think that getting parents involved is, at times necessary. Leah, if you noticed that a child was giving out personal information, what would you do? Especially, some of the teachers that are watching this may have experienced that. They've not, you know, heard us talk to them about to tell their to tell their students not to give out personal information. So if they were experiencing this before they got to teach it, what would you suggest them to do?
I think my first step would probably be if I found out that a student was sharing things or talking to someone, that I would first contact the parents and to inform them of what's going on and to say that their child is involving themselves in something that can potentially harm them. And then I would try to give the parents advice in the best way that I could, saying, these are the types of things that your child should or should not share online. And then, once I've discussed it with the parents and we're on the same page about the problem, then I would probably sit down with the child and talk to them, because having the parent know the issue is one thing, but then having the child be informed of the issue is another. You want to make sure that the child in the future doesn't make the same type of mistake.
Yes, thank you, Leah. And I think that's what we're doing right now is we're educating teachers so that they can educate students and parents at times. So thank you for that. I think that's some great advice. And lastly, we do have one more question for Briana Davis. If you noticed that one of your students was bullying another one of your students, it was happening within, that classroom, cyber, online, what are some particular ways that you as a teacher could encourage the student being bullied?
So personally for me, if we were in a classroom setting and I knew that one of my students had been cyberbullying another student, I feel like my first instinct would be, to go to that student, ask them like, are you okay? Like genuinely from the heart, like, are you okay? Like, is there any way I can help? I personally, as an educator, like, want to be a friend to my students. I don't want to just be an educator or somebody that, just teaches them things. Like, yes, that is important, but I also want like the best for my students, whether it be education wise or just the personal, social wise. So I feel like I would go to my student first, kind of get their point of view from what's going on, their perspective, see if they're doing okay. And then I would probably go on to talk to the student who is doing the cyberbullying. I don't necessarily want to punish them just because of the fact, maybe they weren't educated on what cyberbullying can cause to the victims. And probably just sit down and explain like what you're doing can leave a negative effect on your peer and it's really not necessary. And then if it was getting into a harmful manner, and was starting to get worse progressively, I would obviously go to the parents and probably even administration within the school, whether it be the principal, vice principal, just so I can get, a helping hand in supporting the student, because, I feel that if we weren't there for our students, if we didn't support our students, none of them would succeed in life. None of them would benefit from what we were doing. None of them would have a positive outcome. So I feel like I would just genuinely try to be there as a friend instead of an educator.
I think that's great. And I think that's what we're all here to do. We're all here because we want our students to have a safe environment. We want our students to feel safe with us. I think that's why we are here hosting this event. I think that's why, other educators are here at the event, because safety is the main concern, of our topic here. And I think that goes beyond the online platform. And I think that the discussion that we have had today is great. So at this time, I would like to state that we have created a lesson plan and given some resources. If you guys would like some ideas about ways to incorporate the content that you've been given today into the classroom. I know you've already seen some of the resources, the videos, that were already in the slideshow. But we do have a lesson plan and a whole Google slide for you guys with a Pear Deck add-on. And so that will also be in the comment section. And at this time, we would like to thank you for joining our virtual event today. I would like to say thank you to Natelie, Leah, and Briana for speaking on students' behalf today and speaking to the point of safety online. And I think it's so great. You know, we're all here with the idea of our digital citizenship in mind. And that goes far beyond the classroom for us, which is why we're here attending a professional development event. So we would like to thank you audience members for joining us, for being here, for supporting us. And we will also have the YouTube presentation, like I said, a recorded version for those of you that were not able to attend. So if you have friends, colleagues, student teachers that you would like to share this with, feel free to contact us for that link. So thank you.